Yo, it's Ika here. This is probably going to be a longer video as I kind of explain my RBY NU viability rankings lists that I am going to propose for the tier changes. This may or may not change. It's unlikely that it changes, just due to the fact that the meta game is kind of starting to stabilize a bit. I've got a tier maker here. It does have every single Pokemon, so I'll probably be looking through and trying to find Pokemon for like half the video, but fuck it, that's how it is being. Just to kind of give an idea of my methodology and how I'm gonna be rating stuff in these like separate tiers. I'm just going to reserve S for something that needs to be on every single team. It's like, let's use OU as a comparison. Like, you're never going to drop Tauros, you're never going to drop Chansey, you're never going to drop Snorlax, unless it's in the most niche of niche situations. You're more likely to use a Pokemon from D tier than you are to drop a Pokemon from S tier. A plus, I think, is like anything that's like 70 to 80% usage. So, in like an OU context, that would be something like Starmie, maybe like Executor, Alakazam, maybe Alakazam, and then A minus is like very strong Pokemon that are very easy to fit on teams, have either extremely high strengths or very low downsides. Their importance within the meta is good, and generally at least quite a few of them are, some combination of Pokemon are needed on every team. I'd say S, A plus, A minus. This is like the main. When I think of the meta staples, I think of these three tiers. With just the importance of each Pokemon being dependent on that. B plus is when you start to get into niche Pokemon. I know it's different in like OU, where maybe something like a Jinx is B plus, because it has clear fours. How I see it, at least in NU, is that like there are around 10 Pokemon that are just like they are NU, but there are other Pokemon that can be regularly used that are are flawed, but they have sizable things that they bring to the table that allow them to just be generally just a threatening menace. B minus, I'd say the difference between B plus and B minus is just the size of that niche. Pokemon in B minus tend to be a bit more flawed. Maybe you have to I don't think you have to build around any Pokemon in B plus necessarily. Like, you can just have them on your team. B minus is where you're starting to have to build around Pokemon, or use like unorthodox or novel structures. These Pokemon can sometimes have like little to no impact in a game, but they're mostly outclassed by something higher up on the list. But they still have their place. They can still do things. They're still threatening on team preview. C is where I start to. This is like kind of the boundary. C is where I start to think of Pokemon that are just. You can use them, but their niche is limited. I think generally, like when you talk about Pokemon and C, and actually I'll separate this into C plus and C minus, because I think this is probably best. I'll just change the color to maybe this. Don't know if yeah, there we go. C plus Pokemon is just like, these Pokemon are more likely to work than C minus Pokemon, where it's like you're just memeing. When you get to C minus or D, you're just memeing, or you're mad scientisting, or whatever you call it. Like, these Pokemon are just like they make your team like arguably worse by being on them, or like heavily weak to certain Pokemon, but you can still use them and win, provided you like outplay your opponent, or they don't understand what the Pokemon does. That can definitely be the case, or they may work on this like one specific, very specific style, which allows you to essentially, as soon as you see that Pokemon, you know they must have this Pokemon, they must have that Pokemon, and must have that Pokemon. Beyond like this necessarily, like something like an Electrode needs to have a Kingler in order to like function well, I think. That's just one example. Anyways, I'll get into the tier list. I think these are actually in alphabetical order, so should see Mr. Mime here. Mr. Mime is easily the best Pokemon in RBY NU. It's just, it has a lot of very valuable traits that make it strong. So you're thinking it's fast. Base 90 speed in NU is like a strong break off point. The tier is generally relatively fast compared to, well, it's not as fast as UU, but it's faster than OU in terms of the speed tiers. So that's something like 60 to 75 base speed is not that fast in NU, where obviously you're still outspeeding Snorlax, Chansey, stuff like Executor, even if you're like base 75 speed. But yeah, Mime, I'd say, upper at the lower end of the upper third of speed tiers. It's faster than most meta Pokemon. It has T-Wave. T-Wave extremely important. It's got limited distribution on good Pokemon. Mime is like a key T-Wave spammer and a good Mime check. There's nothing really other than Execute that's actually viable that resists Psychic, plus a electric coverage. Just the fact that it gets Psychic plus T-Bolt differentiates it from other Pokemon. Very good revenge killer. Very good. You're almost like forced to go into Mime versus Mime. In the same way that you go into Taurus. If they bring out their Taurus, you bring out your Taurus. And yeah, the Mimes generally, the trading T-Waves and stuff. This allows a lot of the very important for late game strategies to work, and shutting down certain Pokemon which would otherwise be pretty strong. Well, very strong, but Mr. Mime just like utterly destroys them and makes them way worse. Needed on every team, in my opinion. If you don't have a Mime, you instantly become Mr. Mime weak. For one, even if you have like you have Execute and Clefable, you become Mime weak. And then on top of that, you can't revenge Kabutops, Kingler, stuff like that in the end game, and you automatically don't have as much paralysis on your team, which is very important. Mime is something that's guaranteed to get a para off every single game, pretty much. If you want it, and then that's just a starting point for. You're also instantly weak to King. Neo King just destroys teams without Mime as well. So yeah, that's another thing. So yeah, this mon is needed on every team. When I'd say next in the A+ tier, these Pokemon, I think it's in this order. I should say that in terms of need for importance within team composition, Clef is second best. And if you're defining it by importance, I could see even Clef going up here. I think people should be considering putting Clefable on every team. But it's not mandatory. There are certain structures that you don't actually need to put Clef on every team. Charizard, I'd say, is the least needed to be on every team, and I could see Charizard being as low as 4th, but the reason I put it second here is just due to its late game threat. And I think in a theoretical meta where people play perfectly, Charizard becomes a bit worse because it's there's a lot of Pokemon that can trade with it, and if you play in a certain style, then it's hard for Charizard to actually set up without getting really punished for it. And then yeah, it'll just die to the whatever you have in the back. But I think a lot of people make mistakes, and Charizard is like king of exploiting silly mistakes. Yeah, there's not much to say about more than that. I think if you were to drop Pokemon in A+, I'd recommend dropping Charizard. You can replace it with other SD sweepers or something like King, or just something generally strong in the back. The metagame is generally very offensive, so there's not much hope for like stalling in NU. Talk a bit about Clefable. Clefable's just a glue. This Pokemon gives you so much more options in the game that although you can drop Clef, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just a Swiss Army knife. So, and also with Clef, it's like you need to go Clef versus Clef, which is another thing. It does have that same property as Mime, where it's like I guess we're doing this. We just trade our Clefs away. Because nothing in the tiers which is in on Body Slam. Yeah, Ghastly exists, but Ghastly loses to Clef. Because Clef is just so fat. And we'll just spam T-Ball Blizzard and kill Ghastly. I mean, technically stuff like Moltres beats Clef, but then even the stuff that kind of beats Clef, like the Fires, Charizard doesn't, but let's say like Moltres or Ninetales can really threaten Clefable. They just hate taking T-Wave or Body Slam parries or anything of that sort. Once you've parried these Pokemon, they cannot function very well because they instantly become slower than the Blastoise or slower than Kingler, slower than Kabutops, and it's like, wow, they just become a liability. So yeah, I think like not having Clef makes you weaker to Clef. Technically, it makes you weaker to Mime as well, because Clef is one of the only Pokemon that can really actually force out Mime. Like, the threat of Body Slam or T-Wave Power is enough to force out Mime and give you momentum. Though Mime can technically stay in on Clef and click Psychic. Egg can do this as well, but Egg has numerous flaws. And Paralyzed Mime actually beats Egg. Or at least trades with it evenly. Which is, if Egg's done its job, then that's good for Egg, the Egg player. Talk about Blastoise. Blastoise is just a defensive stable. You need it to check. I mean, its main thing is it deals with Poliwhirl well. It also deals with Charizard well. It deals with like a lot of these fire types just get screwed over by Blastoise. Blastoise is also the best Seadra check. Seadra just, yeah, otherwise Seadra will just wreck face on this. Even versus Mime, like Hydro Pump just does so much. Obviously hates Hydro Pump. This doesn't like Hydro Pump that much. So yeah, having Blastoise there is just like the Clef, Blastoise, and Mime. I'd say is like the key core in NU. And if you want to build a team, you should start with this. It could also be used. It could be used in a huge variety of situations. It's very flexible, Blastoise, as well. Not as flexible as Clef, but it is in terms of the movesets you could run on it. I think at the start of RBYPL, everyone was running like Blastoise, like with just Surf, Ice Beam, Body Slam, Rest, and then people started running Body Slam Toxic, Rest, and then it became Surf S-Toss Toxic Rest, then became Surf Toxic Beam Rest, and now we've kind of gone to people dropping Rest and running stuff like Counter in the last slot. Yeah, very customizable Pokemon to at least in the movesets. Depending on what composition you have. For Clef, I mean, you can get away with just running Body Slam, T-Wave, T-Bolt, Blizzard. Though you can run Hyper Beam or something like that, or even Sing. I don't like Sing Clef, I'd rather have a proper sleeper. Because generally you're wanting to trade Clef with Clef, and once you've got basically once you start missing Sings versus Clef, well, then you're in chip, and Clef has no recovery. It's not like Sing Chansey, where you can just like, I'll get a bit lower, I'll just soft build. Yep, this mon does not get soft build. If it did, it would probably even be OU. So yeah, I'll talk a bit about A minus. Here I have, let's see, it's hard to find. Gollum is there for sure. I'm just looking through all of these guys. Kabutops, of course. I'll order these actually when I put them all up. Wait, this is. They've just been repeated again. I guess. Okay. I was like getting confused there for a sec. Okay. I am missing some Pokemon. Moltres, for example, needs to be up here. And what else am I missing? Venomoth, which is a V. These look like to be in. That's Zapdos. Where is Venomoth? There. And I'm missing one more, Nidoking. Okay, there we go. We got it. So talk about. This is why I ranked them, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm tempted to say that Nidoking is better than Poliwhirl, but the results don't lie. I don't know. People are just not playing Nidoking well or something. I don't know. So yeah, some people even have Nidoking here. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. Of course, because Nidoking beats every single Pokemon here except Moltres. And it beats Charizard, and it beats Powered Mime, which Mime is powered every game. Doesn't beat Powered Clef. That if people actually had that argument, then I can see it, but they generally don't. Anyways, Poliwhirl. I mean, it's just mostly the Hypnosis plus Amnesia combination. Poliwhirl kind of like, the thing is, Sleep is broken in NU. It's like just clearly absolutely stupid, because you can't actually let's say in OU or even in UU, like I mean, personally, I think if you play at the top level, there is no chance that you are waking up, unless you're getting like a first turn wake or something stupid, Pokemon. But like in NU, it's like, that Pokemon is dead, and you should never, like, there are like niche circumstances where you can bring Pokemon in to waste a turn. But because of the existence of SD Charizard and other SD sweepers like SD Kingler, SD Kabutops, you can't just bring in a Pokemon and waste turns. Like, this is why Rest Blastoise has started to run out of favor. Why Rest Moltres is unviable. Yeah, these Pokemon can't use Rest because on that turn, you know, on the turn you're trying to burn rest, I get in, you know, a Pokemon for free, and I can just click SD. So you don't, you know, that turn that you spent can lose you the game. So it's like, NU is so much more punishing of sleep than other tiers. So essentially, Poliwhirl is probably the best sleeper in NU, just because it when it sleeps, it also that turn that it sleeps and gets that gets the sleep off, it has a free amnesia, and +2 Poliwhirl can be very annoying. So a typical cycle would be like, let's say I lead Poliwhirl, they lead whatever, maybe they lead Charizard or something like that. They slash, I click Hypnosis, land it, sleep, and then generally I click Amnesia that turn, they go Blastoise. Psychic does do like, Blastoise is 3 turns to kill Poliwhirl. Psychic generally does about 25% or so, but if you start getting special drops, then it can be like pretty dicey. You should never manage to kill more than 2 Pokemon. I count sleep as a kill with Poliwhirl, but you can definitely kill anywhere between 0 and 2 Pokemon essentially. Sleep, of course, is like the opponent will get a kill back, so you're only killing 0 to 1 Pokemon. But yeah, you need a sleeper somewhere. So if you haven't got Poliwhirl, you need Venomoth or you need Execute. So yeah, the reason this Pokemon isn't in A+ is because it's not got that 70% usage, because you can run Venomoth or you can run Execute depending on the team structure. Or you can, I mean, you can even run Sing Wigglytuff or Sing Clefable, though I'm not a fan of these. Nidoking, I think, is like in a paracentric metagame like what we currently have, so Para Mime, Para Clef. Yeah, I think it's very strong. It's strong as a mid-game breaker. It can also, I think, if you're running it, if you just reveal it at the very end of the game, like people seem to, then it's not that good. Because like it's not a setup sweeper. It's something that's used to break open teams so that you can win with your super. And like people don't seem to play NU that way for whatever reason. So I don't know. But yeah, has perfect coverage for everything. I only ever run 4 attacks. Don't run substitute. You know, just be a good player and make calculated risks of what you're gonna do. King does have one major problem, that it lets in Backwhirl and to a lesser extent back Venomoth to get their sleeps off, but you know, there's plenty of ways for these Pokemon to come in and get their sleeps off. They can get it off versus Clefable or Blastoise. So like don't let that dissuade you with King. King is just another entry point. As also they can get off versus Kingler or versus you know, any other number of Pokemon that you consider using in the back. Yeah. At least Nidoking threatens both Poliwhirl and Venomoth with big damage. If you start missing Hypnosis, you can't actually. I think it may or may not be better to just click Amnesia in some of these situations where people just blindly click Hypnosis. I saw a particular situation in I think it was Plague Von Karma versus Wazobler. I was like, why isn't... it was like Paralyzed Charizard versus Poliwhirl. I was thinking, just click Amnesia once, let them slash you, and then you you force them out, and then you can get your hypnosis off. And instead, there was like this weird sequence which just ended up in being bad. But yeah, that's off topic. Anyways, Poliwhirl, very, very good. You get like, I'd say you get most games. If you play well, you can get like a kill to a kill and a half with Poliwhirl. Or if you get lucky, I mean, if you get unlucky with this Pokemon, you just die and do nothing, which I think is inconsistency. Holds it back from being up here. Nidoking, I think it's just like, it needs to be played a specific way, which I don't think people are playing right now, which holds it back. Kabutops, I think, is generally a very good check to a lot of Pokemon. It's not as good a Charizard check as Gollum, for sure, and it has problems with Mime, but it does check fires harder than it checks fires harder. It has the SD potential. It beats Gollum, of course, in the 1v1. It checks stuff like, it makes Pokemon like Moltres pretty much useless. And yeah, it still reasonably checks Charizard. You could still SD do stuff against he still do stuff against what's it called, Blastoise. I think it's just like a reasonable defensive mon. I wouldn't run rest on it. You don't run rest on anything. The only thing I consider rest on is Blastoise, which I definitely do run rest on a lot because it is good. Yeah, I think with Kabutops, like, just the fact it doesn't just like suck versus water types makes it better than Gollum. It's like more, and it's easier to fit on team structures as well as a piece, because it's like, I don't know, it just is easier. Whereas Gollum gives you a water weakness, and like after you've already got to put like Mime and Clef and Blastoise on there, you probably need like, you generally need Egg as well, because you want a sleeper. It's like you're quite restricted in what you can do with Gollum, I think, which does lead it to being on less builds. It is very powerful though. You can switch it into Mime. You have to be worried about the opponent's game plan when switching Gollum into Mime, which is something to consider, since Mime you can just trade a Psychic onto Gollum, and generally these teams that I've seen built, like when you've got Gollum, you've got, you know, Gollum, Mime, Clef, Egg. And a lot of these teams just rely on Gollum to, like, you know, I'll be fine against Charizard. I'll just use my Gollum. And then what ends up happening is, like, you could just click Psychic on Mime on Gollum, and suddenly, well, you're in +2 Charizard range. Let's say I've already powered your Mime, and even if I haven't powered Mime, because +2 Charizard also threatens to kill Mime. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of like people switching Gollum into Mime. If you got a good read, go for it, man. But I think this play can be punished a lot more than it currently is, as well. So I'll talk about Venomoth. Venomoth is like the Jinx of this tier, I'd say. Like, Venomoth is very good at getting off sleep. It's, you know what, it's the best at getting off sleep. Poliwhirl, it only gets off sleep in, like, I'd say like 80% of games. Venomoth gets, well, no, okay, 80% is too kind. It only gets off sleep in like 70% of games. Venomoth gets sleep off in like 90% of games, or 100% of games, unless you're running a mirror of some sort in the lead slot.
If you're not, then Venomoth's getting off sleep sometime in the game. Its general drawback is that it's not as threatening once it's gotten off its sleep. Like Poliwhirl is more threatening after sleep than Venomoth. Although Venomoth is kind of underrated in this aspect. Unless you've got like a Moltres or a Ninetales or some fire type, Venomoth can actually be really annoying. Just with like Stun Spore and like Psychic. Obviously you don't want to switch like Mime into Stun Spore. Even though Mime just destroys Venomoth. Yeah, you can paralyze Chansey. Generally people go into Blastoise, you can just like chip Blastoise down a bit, like, and then you can like bring it out later in the game, just win a speed tie with Mime or something, or even with Moltres, and you just click Psychic on King. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with Venomoth, I think, that are underexplored. But yeah, I think that this one is definitely very good. You just have to play. I think people don't play well enough with it either at the moment. It's got kind of a similar problem with some of the other Pokemon here, where I think like Gollum is better because people don't respect it as much. Once people start running compositions that really punish Gollum, or run shit like Kingler more often, then Gollum is not that good. Well, it is still like really good, but I mean it's not as good at dealing with all sorts of pressures. Yeah, Venomoth, I think what you want to do is like get your sleep off. You get Venomoth to relatively low HP. I just keep fire. Generally, I keep firing off attacks unless they try and wake on Venomoth. Then you can just go Mime or something, or Charizard and start SDing. But like if they're starting switching, just get some damage off. I think Venomoth is like a more consistent but less high highs than Poliwhirl. Yeah, and the fact that this Pokemon also gets Para as well, it means it can like do more after the sleep. Well, sometimes Poliwhirl is like you're just you're essentially just forced to like on this line where you get off your sleep and then you have to trade with Blastoise. Like Venomoth is so much more flexible in this regard, where it's like, well, I can trade with Blastoise for a bit, but like a Venomoth at 10% HP that's had its sleep is more useful than a Poliwhirl at 10% HP that's had its sleep. Unless you can bring Poliwhirl in to like threaten Gollum one time, but like other than that, no. Venomoth is just more useful because that power is just so. Having that power is just so good. Moltres. I think this Pokemon theoretically really strong. In practice, it doesn't work quite as well. It just struggles with this. Yeah, those are the main ones that are just on every team. Oh, it struggles with this as well. To a lesser extent, it struggles with Poliwhirl. Fire Blast is really strong, but like. You have Kabutops. Kabutops 4 times resist Fire Blast and doesn't care about burn. A Gollum, I think there are structures that makes Moltres really strong and threatening. Also, it has a problem with SD Charizard. I mean, the thing is, like, people say, oh, you can just Toxic and spin it. But you're clicking Toxic. If you miss that Toxic, you lose the game instantly. And then, what the Charizard player can do is just, like, you Toxic, and then I just switch out Charizard and do the same thing later in the game when you've brought in Moltres. Which means that if you're playing optimally, you can never bring in Moltres again after that point, because like the ticking poison is just changed, and yeah, Fire Spin is even more inaccurate move than Toxic, and it will end which. You know, at some point, Charizard will get another double SD and then just Hyper Beam. 'Tis sad times. I think I could see this one getting back into the meta. I think it just struggles from just
just being able to click Fire Blast is not good enough. In NU, even though there's like a lot better in OU where there's not resists everywhere. Like OU, maybe you have like, you know, you have Starmie that resists and Rhydon, I guess. You don't really need to even switch Rhydon in, cause like Rhydon, yeah, you just switch in Starmie. But if it's with and Chansey, like you could at least pressure Chansey. Like most games, these, you know, this team's gonna just switch in like Blastoise, and if Blastoise doesn't work, you switch in Kabutops or Gollum. And this Moltres can be very strong against certain structures. I think like the ones involving Execute, Moltres instantly becomes stronger versus. Because Execute is like, this one's weird. But yeah, this is kind of like A-. I'd say this is like the staples of the tier. You know, you can't go wrong with like, if I was to make a team, add these 4, add like 2 of these Pokemon. Generally, you want to add like, well, specifically you want to add 1 Sleeper, 1 of these 2, and then like 1 of these Pokemon, and yeah, you got a good team. That's just how it is. I ranked Moltres last because it's just like the worst and hardest to put in teams of all these Pokemon. But when played around, it's very strong. If you can get 8 Fire Blasts off in a game, good. Can't rest though. You should only run Fire, Blast Spin, Toxic Agility. Don't bother resting. It's a waste of time. Talk about B+. I have Egg. I have. That's Krabby. Where's Kingler? Okay, Kingler. Yeah. And I have. Let me find it. Seadra. I actually think Seadra is hella underrated, but I'll get to that. Kingler, I think, is the next best Pokemon after this. I think it just has a really good entry point. It has a lot of entry points in the metagame, especially with Gollum being good. Kingler really good at coming in on Gollum, and like nothing wants to switch into Crabhammer except Blastoise. Kingler can just SD on Blastoise. Yeah. When Pokemon are paralyzed, this Pokemon becomes really strong. Obviously, it struggles versus versus Mime, but Mime can often be paralyzed early on in the game. When you paralyze Mime, you paralyze Clef. Like, okay, this doesn't like Crabhammer. This just dies to SD Beam. This hates Crabhammer. This obviously is just like screwed. This hates Crabhammer. Although Moltres can kind of trade with Kingler. Like, realistically, you're not wanting to take Crabhammer. You're not going to switch in on Crabhammer ever. So I think if you play well with Kingler, you can get at least 1 kill. The issue with it is, it as a defensive piece, it's underrated as a defensive piece, but on the special side, oh god, it's awful. It's awful. Like, if the opponent has like something like a Nidoking, yeah, you come in, you do your thing, but then they just go into Nidoking and they do the same thing back to you, or they go into Mr. Mime. Hopefully you've powered Mr. Mime, but you won't have powered Nidoking. What else about Kingler? Kingler's a surprisingly good SD Charizard check. You have to watch out for 5 Blast Burn, but you can live +4 Hyper Beam from full HP. It does a max of 98%, and yeah, Crabhammer doing tons to Charizard. Doesn't KO, but +2 Body Slam to it hurts. So yeah, you got that. So you don't even have to beam risk. And then yeah, Kingler does a lot of like, its attack is just very strong. So I think +2 beam, 75% to kill Execute, and it's faster.
It kills Porygon. I might actually KO execute. KO's Mime. KO's Venomoth. Even like I think it has a roll to KO Venomoth. It KO's Poliwhirl. Crabhammer does like 97 max to Nidoking. Does tons to it does tons to everything. It's a really good breaker, and it's quite good against certain structures. Like as soon as you bring Egg into the equation, oh, this Kingler can just go in really hard because you got with Egg. You're already like you have to be if you're not careful with your Mime and you got Egg, like then your team is automatically like super weak to Kingler. But yeah, this Pokemon can be very strong if played around. Egg, I'd say it's the third best sleeper. People aren't good at dealing with it ATM, so like in terms of like how good it is right now, it's probably here. But like in terms of like how good is it actually, I think it's here. Just because the reason Egg is so good is it just switches in on Mime or Poliwhirl. These are the main two that I'd say this Pokemon switches in on them and gets off sleep, and then you can power and then you can boom. It doesn't have much pressure beyond that. It's kind of a bit of a sink of a Pokemon. You can't run rest. You have to run boom, which is it's good. But like, let's say, I've traded powers with Mime. The problem is you can't lead Egg as well. So let's say I've traded powers with Mime. I've got your opponent's already gotten their sleep off with their Poliwhirl or with their Venomoth. Let's say I led Charizard or something. This is common when you don't. Yeah, you can't run double sleepers with Egg. You can run double sleepers with Moth, but like Egg, it's like if you've gotten off your sleep, Egg. You've lost yourself a mon because Egg is useless. It's less valuable than a single Pokemon. This is why I'm not 100% a big fan of double sleep structures, but you can do it because it just guarantees you sleep. But yeah, Egg, it's not. It's good against certain things, and if you can utilize that, it can be very strong. But other than that, it can be a liability. I mean, yeah, it's an entry point for Moltres to click Fire Blast, for example. And even you can run techs on. There's loads of Blizzard users as well. This uses a Blizzards, and it doesn't take stuff like it can't switch in on many things. So it can't switch on like S-Toss into Blizzard from Blastoise. Can't switch in on Clef. Can't switch on Charizard unless it's like Fire Spin. If it's as soon as it's Blastless, like you can't switch in. Can't switch in on Moltres, obviously. So it can only really switch in on Mime and Poliwhirl very effectively, consistently. Oh, and Gollum, unless Gollum has Fire Blast. Having Fire Blast on Gollum's pretty rare though. So yeah, this one, like, it's unique. I'll put it there. But yeah, the situations that you can use it within the game are limited. They are strong situations. Switching into Mime is an extremely good trait, as is switching into Poliwhirl. Although if people start running Blizzard on Poliwhirl, Execute instantly becomes way weaker, because you can get situations where you get off asleep, people go into Execute, and then you just die to +2 Blizzard, and then yeah, the game's really bad. Also, Egg Boom doesn't do that much. So that's why I put it up below Kingler. Last is Seadra. Seadra, I think, is very strong against like the entire cast. Unfortunately, it has a problem with Blastoise. It has a big problem with Blastoise, which is why it's not further. It's getting better though. It will never be up here. Seadra, I can't see Seadra ever being up here, but
it's getting better because Blastoise stopped running rest as much. So you can actually, like, once people have traded off their Blastoise, teacher is so good. Obviously Poliwhirl is annoying to it, but like often by the time it gets to the very end of the game, you often trade off Poliwhirl. Maybe you have a King, maybe you have a SD Charizard, Parrot Mime or something like that, with maybe Gollum. Yeah, Cedar obviously feasts on Gollum, it feasts on Kabutops, Moltres. His Pokemon, it's goodish into Kingler. It's like actually got pretty decent defenses, and so it can like soak up hits from Kingler. Yeah, also feast on Egg. But yeah, this Pokemon's viability is dependent on Blastoise sets and how much you can get chip on Blastoise. So you have to play specifically for the win condition. But yeah, very good in combination with Charizard as well. If they're expecting to use Gollum as the way to check SD Charizard instead of Blastoise, you can like get them to trade Blastoise early, and they think, oh, I've got SD Charizard will be checked by Gollum. But Gollum is like this Pokemon just loves Gollum on the opposing team. I think it's the same with Kingler, except this Pokemon learns agility instead of SD, so it can be used in different situations, and it's more of a special attacker. This has got the Hyper Beam coverage, it's got the Blizzard coverage, which is better for stuff like, not really anything, but like it's just nice to have Blizzard as a move, because sometimes you can just freeze Blastoise, which is another BG for the opponent. So, talking about B-, I'm just going to go down here. And, sorry this is taking so long. I've realised I've already gone on for like 47 minutes. That's ridiculous. I do apologise. Ninetales is definitely up here. This thing is up here. Pinsir I think is up here as well. See if I'm forgetting anything whatsoever. I think I'm definitely forgetting a few things. Where is this? Is definitely up here. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, because I feel like this tier is bigger than what I'm thinking at the moment. But I just can't find them. I need actually Primeape is up here as well. And Wiggly. I think this is the correct size of the tier. I'm just going to reorder these. Porygon is the best. Then it's Rapidash. Not Rapidash. Actually, it's 9. Maybe Rat is the best. Maybe something like this. Nah, I don't think Rat is. Maybe it's something like this. I think Ninetales is not that good. I think Wiggly is probably there, and then like something like this looks decent. So you kind of start getting to really niche Pokemon here. And put Porygon at the top of this list because I think it has the most potential to just win a game. Sometimes Porygon can be like a completely like destroy the opponent's team. And sometimes it's just useless, it does nothing. I don't think conversion, for what it's worth, is that good. I mean, if you're a good player, you just like, oh, they've converted into my Charizard. Well, not that that's particularly good. Let's say it's Elite Charizard and not SD. They converted into my Charizard type. Just go Gollum or go Blastoise and Surf. So it just opens up new weaknesses. There's not like any like, the only like really good one to convert into is maybe like
Mr. Mime, but you never want to switch in on Mr. Mime with Porygon, because Paralysis just dicks over Porygon super hard. But I mean, if you need to, I guess Mime typing is best, or like Kabutops typing. Even Kabutops typing, I don't like. But yeah, it can be a niche stop to things. It like does okay versus SD Kabutops. If Mime kills something, you can go in and click conversion. It can convert versus Moltres. It's good versus Moltres, so it has niches. Pokemon's too passive is a problem. ST sweepers can often dick it over, so like stuff like Kingler can just SD on it, and at least it gets a kill at the very least. Yeah, and it finds it hard to switch into anything. You need it to be on full HP in order to deal with Pokemon. It can wall King theoretically, but King will crit. It will eventually crit and win. And yeah, T-Wave. Paralysis in general just screws over this Pokemon. Raticate can be very good in the right circumstances. I don't think it's a good anti-lead. Moth just puts it. It's not good against Moth. Like, Moth is fine for trading 50% to get off its sleep, and then you'll get off your para as well, so you'll be able to do what you want to do. It loses to Charizard lead. It's okay versus Poliwhirl leads. It's kind of a very niche anti-lead, and no, it's not good against Mime. I guess trading para with Raticate is fine, but like, yeah, this mod is good at breaking. It can be used well if you like. If your opponent just switches around mindlessly, Raticate can get like 1 kill plus worth of damage and be really threatening. Once you stop switching around, it's not gonna be as good. And yeah, it's got paper thin defenses as well, and it's kind of hard to fit on team structures because it has no defensive utility. This Pokemon only has offensive pressure. But yeah, it's pretty fun to play with, I'd say. Ninetales, it's like the best fire types, like Soul Fire type. Confuse Ray can be very annoying. Against the Poliwhirl matchup, for example, it does take the piss sometimes when Poliwhirl like hits itself in confusion. So it could be annoying. Like, I like running, like, I don't even like running Toxic on this anymore. Just like Blast, Spin, Body Slam, and yeah, and Confuse Ray. And you could Parafuse Pokemon, like if they switch into Blastoise, and he's like, you click T-Wave on them, it's like they got like a 62.5% chance of just hitting themselves. Which is like, and then you could start fire spin and switch and stuff like that. I like just keeping this one in, just like, unless they're versus a Charizard lead, I like just keeping this one in and just sacking it. Because often if you realize, like, if your opponent's just like switching around and you're clicking buttons, they're generally losing. Super cool Pokemon. I'd only ever use it as an anti-lead. I don't think it's that good in the back. Another good thing about it is you can let it take Paralysis, and like, it still trades with Mime, it still trades with Clef quite well, and its Fire Blast to just meet you. Another Pokemon. Talk about Tough. Tough is alright. Actually, Tough is here. No, okay, it's better than Pinsir. Tough is alright. It's nothing special. I think it's just like a worse Clefable, but it's like significantly worse than Clefable. A lot of the benchmarks that Clefable hits, it can't hit. So it just doesn't do anywhere near as well in terms of like its strength. But yeah, you could run like Clef Tough and have like Sing on one of these instead of running a sleeper, a dedicated sleeper. So it has that going for it. So it has interesting structures involved in it. Yeah, there's it's not been. I think it's gotten worse and worse as like more SD sweepers. It's just another place where Poliwhirl or Venomoth or whatever can get a free sleep and doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything exceptionally defensively. Whereas you don't need more than one Clef. You just need Clef. Pinsir, I think like it's clearly a very flawed Pokemon, but I think like certain compositions I put like Pintops or Double Crab comps can be very strong at breaking in the late game. Yeah. I just got a message, sorry. Yeah, I think those compositions can be very strong. And but I think Pinsir does have like some big flaws. It's like not a. It's like it brings no defensive utility basically, and yeah, dies to one Charizard Fire Blast, which means you ain't sweeping with this in the end game. You have to pair it up with something just shits on Charizard, like, or something that shits on Fire Blast at least, like Kabutops generally is what you need. I think this Pokemon's flawed, but it does have a lot of offensive potential and is quite scary if put in the right positions. Like SD, I don't tend to run Bind on this, but running Bind on this is a waste of a move because they just pivot in there. As soon as you click Bind, they just pivot in their Charizard, and yeah, then you have to take a Fire Blast or whatever, or they pivot in Moltres or something like that. So yeah, don't run Bind. Just run SD, 3 attacks with Submission. Submission is crap, but what can you do? Primate. It's like another anti-lead. These two are just anti-leads in my opinion. Arcanine has more defensive and general utility, but it's like I'd much rather run Ninetales. I think Primate is more of a unique lead, which is why I put it over Arcanine. T-Bot hacks for this, Rock Slide for this, and then you generally run like Body Slam, and you can run Low Kick. Low Kick like does tons to Clefable, so it's got that going for it. Just does a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it's paper thin defenses, and it can't handle being paralyzed, which is why it's not that good. Arcanine, yeah, it's just walled by Blastoise, walled by Gollum, lets these Pokemon in for free. Walled by Kabutops. Doesn't offer anything really that Ninetales doesn't already do. It has a weaker Fire Blast. Doesn't confuse Pokemon. Doesn't have spin, so it doesn't have that X factor of hexing Pokemon. So yeah, I'll talk a bit about what I put in C+, which I think is this is the border, and why I put these Pokemon in. Why I haven't put these Pokemon in NU. I need to find what is it called? Sandslash. There you go. I think Sandslash is Fearow the best. Fearow's probably the best of these. Fearow just can't deal with these two Pokemon basically. Good anti-lead. Yeah, one of these two. Well, as soon as you've not got one of those two, Fearow's pretty damn good. Just yeah, does nothing to rocks, and even then, you can trade with Fearow quite easily if you need to. It doesn't bring anything super threatening. SD Sandslash can be like, I don't worry when I see these Pokemon in my games generally, though you can put in work with them, which I think is difference between C plus and C minus. Sandslash, I mean, SD can be very strong, but like it just like has no special, so it hates Mime Psychic, it hates, you know, like, what would you SD on, like Fire Blast from these guys? No. Physically it's fine. Obviously Blastoise is on every team. You just die to surf. 2-hit killed by Clef Blizzard. Every Clef should run Blizzard in my opinion. I know some don't, and they can set up on those, but like those people are not that good. Obviously you can set up an Egg. But yeah, also hates Kingler, hates this. Even, well, it's fine versus Porygon actually. It's actually good versus Porygon. Fine versus this rat really. But yeah, probably doesn't even deal with Wigglytuff that well. I think it's just his special that holds it back. Rapidash, it's just the extra speed is just not valuable versus Ninetales, which also brings Confuse Ray to the table and is bulkier. Rapidash gets 2-hit cured by Charizard, Earthquake. Ninetales does not, nor does Arcanine. So you can actually use Ninetales to spin versus +2 Charizard, whereas you can't let's say +2 Toxic Charizard or something like that. Whereas you can't use Ninetales Rapidash in that fashion. Electrode, yeah, just this Pokemon. It has stop it from being any harder. Obviously, if you just outplay them and win the mind games, Electrode is amazing. It's great versus Water Spam as long as you don't have Execute, but people tend to switch in Execute on Mime, and like, once you've S-tossed Execute a few times, Electrode crit T-Bot can just wreck it. So these Pokemon, actually, you can use them in NU. I would consider them not NU though. Okay, let's look a bit further down. I'll just put in Pokemon that like definitely can work, but don't. I'm just looking through because I don't know these off the top of my head. I guess Champ is in like D, Magneton's in like C minus, Little Queen's like D. Yeah, you're like really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, like Ponyta's here. I mean, I'm not gonna put Pokemon that are like strictly outclassed in every single way. But like these Pokemon are just mostly outclassed, or they just don't provide anything, even as a niche. I don't know why I'm going even further than this. Like, I guess like Weeping Bell is here and Ivysaur is here. I can't even be bothered finding Ivysaur. Trying to think what else might be here. Like Magmar might be here. Slowpoke is actually a Pokemon that's worth putting here, and Ghastly. Where's Ghastly? And Cypher's worth putting here. And Drowsy's definitely worth putting here. I've probably skipped Drowsy here. So in terms of C minus, does this look accurate? They're not ordered. Well, they are kind of, because Abra is better than this. This is the order. This is actually the order. Here, Drowsy is. Yeah, I guess it's like here. This makes some sense. Dragonair, actually kind of threatening. Dragonair could even be in here. Agility plus Rap it's not bad, you know, it's not bad, and it does have some good resistances. Unfortunately, it's slower than all the water types. So like if Blastoise has Blizzard, that's a bad time. But yeah, has good resistances to fire and water moves. So you know you can agility wrap versus Charizard maybe. HT wave. That's about it really. Maybe this is in the bottom here. Abra, just a shittier version of Mr. Mime, but it has no T-Ball. Also dies to 2 Blastoise body slams. Die to any physical move. Probably die to a single Pharaoh hit. Probably dies to probably dies to Kingler Hyper Beam from 4. This bond's just too fail. This bond's just too slow. Amnesia, T-Wave like rest serve sort of thing. It just doesn't work that well because once as soon as you go to sleep, ST Charizard. Essentially, you just can't go to sleep like Bro can in OU. Because ST Charizard comes in, Nido King comes in, even Gollum can come in and click EQ 3 times. Or click EQ twice, and then you on the next turn after you've woken up, you're slow poke, so you're slower than everything. So you don't even do the crit strategy, which you might do versus a slow bro. Ghastly, I think it's theoretically good. Unfortunately, there's no mono normal attacking Pokemon here. Most physical Pokemon have Earthquake, so you can maybe switch on. If you switch in on, like, let's say Charizard Hyper Beam, this thing has Earthquake. It's okay. It can walk Kingler. It's not very bulky, so like Crabhammer is gonna do tons to Ghastly, and yeah, you don't even care because like Ghastly lets in a lot of Pokemon. Drowsy is kind of a budget Mr. Mime check, but it's like the 5th budget Mr. Mime check. Also does nothing. Can hypnosis, I guess, but like other than that, it's like not worth a Pokemon. Muck, interesting Pokemon. Unfortunately, got strong boom. That's mostly can do some stuff in niche scenarios like Acid Armor, Mega Drain versus Gollum and shit like that. But so specific, so niche that it doesn't matter. Magneton, yeah, it has the problems of Electrode, except it's slower than Mime. And it's slower than King. Well, no, it doesn't matter whether it's slower than King, but it's slower than a lot of things with base 70 speed. So you like Electrode strength is fast and everything, whereas Magneton is like its power, but when Electrode's critting every single attack, you don't need power. Seeking kind of like, unfortunately, it's just worse versus Seadra. Seadra has more special and is faster. Even though Seeking has better attacks, so maybe it's better versus Blastoise, but it gets walled by Blastoise anyways. This just hates this and this. Hates this as well, and this. And perhaps this and this. And this. And this. And this. And this. And this. But theoretically a good one. Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely run it with Charizard, but then you could wall both of those Pokemon with Gollum, because Cypher does so little damage that Gollum is just going to destroy them anyways. Yeah, these Pokemon exist. You maybe could do work with Machamp. This is just like add it onto your Poliwhirl team. This, you'll just become Mime weak. This Fire Spam doesn't work. This, I'd rather run another Sleeper. This, I guess it's, you know, it's your boy Magmar. I'll just put it there because why not? You know what? Might as well put Pikachu here. That's a white background. Might as well put Pidgey here. You know, this is where you start the usefulness you're starting to get in here. You know, these mons are used for like sleep sacks and shit like that. Anyways, I hope this is my full tier list. I'll take these off, obviously, that's just a joke.
I'm trying to see if I've forgotten any Pokemon whatsoever. I'm not putting Hitmons in, wasting my time. Not gonna put Weezing in. I don't think this Pokemon's very good at all. Not gonna put Onix in or Parasect. No Pidgeots. Yeah. See a Pokemon like Staryu could be D, I guess. I can see you using Staryu for shit, but it's too weak, unfortunately. No, it's like it probably has like very niche usage. Yeah, I think that's everything. So I hope that elucidates people on my tier list. I'll just center the screen like that, and we'll end it there. Thank you. Bye.